Welcome, Wargamers. Join your hosts, Bonko and Monty, two Canadian wargaming enthusiasts, as we explore all aspects of tabletop wargaming. We roll dice, talk tactics, share hobby hacks, and explore new tabletop systems, all on the Trident Wargaming podcast. Welcome back, everybody. Trident Wargaming podcast here, and we're joined again, the Battle Bros. Although we're missing Dan, that's okay. I'm joined here with my co-host Andy.
Yo.
We've got Alex.
Hello, Heresy fans.
And then myself, I'm Bill. And we're just kicking in another Horus Heresy episode for you, and we're going to be talking about a few different topics. Before we jump in, we can just do some quick hobby stuff. What have you guys been doing hobby-wise? I know the new box and playing some games, there's been some tinkering and building and whatnot. Andy, you want to go first?
It's been a busy last couple of weeks, actually.
Yeah, it has.
for I think all of us, to be honest. So, just from getting some games in, doing a kind of a demo game for a close friend of ours, Hal there, who's just jumping in, also working on the new Legion, 1,000 Suns, which finally, kind of pulled a, trigger on, right? So finally decided on them. And then just kind of trying to read up on all the rules and all the info that we've been getting, and the chats that have been going crazy and on fire the last few weeks. So just was working on some SecMech, trying to get tacticals together. Of course, it was the old MK3 kits. Haven't even touched the main set yet, so that would be for a different Legion down the road. But just some dreadnoughts, just some stuff I had in cold storage. So
nice.
That's really it about for me on the Heresy front. How about you, Alex? What about you? I know you've been busy.
I actually got 2 rhinos assembled, and I'm about 70 or 80% done the Kratos. I just I don't know if I see it fitting in my Legion, but I think the kit's fantastic. It's just a mean looking big tank, and I almost want to find a reason to make it fit. It's so exciting, and it's almost done. I'm just doing the weapons, all the different weapons for the turrets, and it looks big. It looks mean, and it's exciting.
For your Emperor's Children?
Like I said, I don't know. It doesn't really fit. It doesn't really fit the EC theme at this point, but I'm sure if it's not EC, it's a Legion down the road that it'll fit nicely into.
I think it would look pretty badass in those colors.
Oh yeah,
some purple, some gold trim, maybe some marble in there. You never know.
I bought like 8 different shades of purple, and they're just sitting here staring at me. I gotta pick an actual color, shade, and scheme here to go with pretty quick. I got enough built.
Nice, that'll be good to see. Yeah,
that is awesome.
More Emperor's Children. We don't see enough of them, right?
It's true.
So
very true.
It's good.
Very true.
How about you, Bill?
Oof, myself, I've been a chaos whore. I've been kind of going through, getting some word bearers all pulled out of being boxed up. Also, just recently, for those who are in the know, 40k Chaos Codex dropped, which is nice because I'm going to actually try and port majority of my infantry back and forth between the systems, but using my 30k models. But I've been just kind of getting those ready, finishing off some conversions on a Praetor, and really it's just I'm at the paint stage. I have lots to paint. 2 Spartans still staring me down the build for them, but in time. It's mostly just Galvor back, getting them ready on the table. Just trying to put a little bit of effort all over the place without burning out, which is a little bit of a struggle. So
it happens. Yeah,
it does.
It is.
Yeah,
it is a struggle.
It is.
Alex went pretty hard with just putting Marines together the last little bit.
Yeah, he did.
I built that box and I did a whole bunch of conversions and I built some special characters and I got my Palatine blades done, my cacophony done, and then I just like gassed out. I was like, "Ugh. I'm gonna play video games for the next week because I just can't look at a model right now."
Yeah.
I remember you saying that too in the chat. I'm just like, done.
Yeah. No doubt.
That's awesome.
It happens though.
Awesome.
It does happen. So.
And speaking of conversions, I mean, we've seen a crazy amount of Praetor and character conversions over the last few weeks, and mainly from the Praetors of the set.
Yeah.
But then you've also been seeing some other ones come up, which are like, ooh, those are awesome. So it's good to see that part of the hobby, and Heresy coming back, right? So
yeah,
it's pretty cool.
It's been a nice resurgence that way for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I guess kicking off, first things first, we went to Victoria, BC last weekend there for a awesome event. It was the Boys of the Golden Thrones Titandeath event, and it was pretty legit. 16 players. We played 1,500 point Legios for your force, and played 3 games, pretty much for a day, but it was a great event. The guys were really cool to actually go down and finally, meet face to face. Met a lot of people that I've been chatting with online at the event itself, which was really cool. It's always kind of nice, to have that interaction in real life, and then go have a couple brews while you're playing and rolling dice. So it was pretty legit, and a lot of different lists. That's kind of what I liked. Was there's just a big variety, right? Everyone had a little bit of everything, so it's pretty. It was a lot of fun. Dan did fairly well there. He was rocking out. He was known as like the Warhound Torpedo, and he basically, if you've heard us talk about his Vulpa Legio at all, it basically points right at you, and everything charges in and just lays waste, man. It did quite well there. He was having a blast. And I know guys were like, what? As he's teleporting through the building with warp displacement and then getting these massive charges off, and also all the strats layered in, and it's like, I've got a 14-inch charge. And you're like, how, man? It just blows right through. It's just insane. So
they weren't ready for Dan.
Pardon?
It's like I get 2 attacks plus 3 plus my tail. Yeah. That's 7 attacks, and I'm plus 3 strength, and I get plus 3 for charging. And goodbye.
Yeah, whatever I hit, I'm gonna kill. It's pretty wild.
It was a lot of fun. It was a lot. They weren't ready for that at all, right? Because everybody was pretty amazed. So.
I find with that list, you have to feed them Titans. You're like, all right, here's a Reaver. Hopefully it blows up in your face.
Yeah, I hope it takes out that dirty Warhound. Just to buy me an extra turn, right? So there's ways to do it. But yeah, it was really good to connect with the boys there, John and AJ, over the event, and also meet the guys that, they frequent with in the tabletop gaming. If you're following along with our Instagram, you would have seen a picture of those hooligans, all beer infused and ready to play. So it was pretty good that way. Later on in the fall, they're actually doing a Kippers Melee Horus Heresy event, and that'll be happening in mid-October. So a few of us are going to go down there for that. And
is that Vancouver or Victoria again?
That's in Nanaimo. So right closer to Vancouver.
Oh, so just slightly easier to get to. It's still on the island.
Yeah, it's still there. Like if you go to Victoria, you're driving I think it's an hour and a half, or from Vancouver, it's like a 20-minute little cruise over. So. Or
we rent a boat and we sail the coast and arrive like pirates.
Oh, that'd be fun.
We're gonna have to come up with a counter outfit. Like, God give me the strength to show up in golden tights, but I don't feel it's in me. We're gonna have to come up with a more conservative alternative.
Oh man! Although the boat would be hilarious, houseboat trip.
Heresy onesie with pirate hats.
Oh,
Heresy onesies, jeez.
My goodness. The Heresy houseboat. God damn it.
As long as you wear the patch there, Alex. You can have the pirate patch.
Oh man.
Just
the
knocking
event-
over train trying to pick up dice because you got no depth perception. Dar, I'm sorry.
Oh man.
Pretty much. But speaking of terrain, the terrain at the event was really, really great. It was awesome. There's a lot of guys contributing to the event as well.
Yeah.
And the boards just look fantastic, right? They had themes to them and everything. It was really, really fun to play in. You know, I got just demolished in the game, in the tourney. I think I was probably the first one that got the engine kill on me, right? So I definitely lost a Warhound right off the bat, and just
Oh, and sorry to just interject. They were really, really emphasizing like this is the Titanicus event. I want to hear fucking engine kill.
Engine
if you
kills,
kill an engine, let's hear it, boys. And after that, some of the guys were like, engine kill, like across the hall. Yeah. I also had that happen to me in my first game, and I was like, shit, you know, just it was my Princeps, and he just went down. So, just the way.
Yeah. No, good games with everybody that was there. You know, I ended up realizing that, okay, I have to kind of relook at the game again and relook at how I have my mana pools and stuff, and maybe this isn't quite what's working for me, right? So, but really good experience, a lot of fun. The guys were all legit, and you know, really, really helpful playing the game too, because most of them like haven't probably played in a little bit either. Yeah. Right, and the same kind of thing with us, where we, you know, shaking off the rust. But I mean, after that first round, everybody was just into it, right? Like everybody was just, oh yeah, I remember this now. Boom, let's go, right? And a lot of explosions.
That's
and I know Bill had a good round of explosions in one of his matches.
My last game, and I will talk about it because it was so epic. It was so epic. But the first round was 3 hours as like the rust breaker. And just to, you know, echo Andy there, we haven't played for a long time. A lot of the guys haven't played. And then, as you're kind of fumbling your way through, the first turn I ended up getting, and I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I can't remember. I was like, damn, like I know there's a thing I want to do with this army, and I just can't remember the subtlety of it, right? And after first round it got well. We got well into the routine. My last game was against Phil, and I was playing a Exterminus mana pool where he has the 3 warlords, and it was pretty gnarly. We were playing on John's Sector Mechanicum from the Grimdark Terrain table, which was really nice to play on, by the way. And what ended up happening is you had to take these objectives as your primaries, and you wanted to score your opponents. So I was right in his face. Turn 2, I had both my Reavers. I ended up doing some pretty wild stuff. I was able to do charges on each of them with Overwhelming Rage, so 3 charges, no rolls needed. And I used my Distorted Form ability to get up close, and then I used the Unbridled Hatred on the other one. Made my charges really long. Was in combat. These warlords I'm in combat with are holding their own because they're just repairing as much as they can, but they're all critted out. They're maxed out on their tracks, both of them. The one that I'm shooting actively with my 3rd Reaver, and then long bombing all these low heat, you know, Quake and APOC missiles from my other warlord, who's super slow, and he's moving 6 every turn, trying to move around this big terrain piece to engage the center. And anyways, what ends up happening is Warlord overheats. The one that's not engaged with anybody overheats, and it goes critical, and ends up blowing up, killing my Reaver that's in combat, and that Reaver ends up flying back, blowing up, and then killing the other 2 Titans. The Reaver again, and then that Reaver magazine detonated, killed the other Warlord, where it's just a Warlord on Warlord fight, but he's so far, and he's standing right beside 2 objectives, there's no way in hell I'm going to make it there, because that Warlord just can't move fast enough. And I was trying to Quake him and spin him. He was spinning everywhere. I was trying to push him away from the objectives, right? However I could. And I just couldn't manage to do it. So what turned out to be like, it felt very in the bag. And it turned the game around on me really quick with just some really crazy stuff, which is why Titanicus is so good. But yeah, that was probably one of the best games I've played in a really long time. It was great. It was great. So
big explosions and a lot of fun.
yeah,
That's Titanicus for you.
yeah.
Did you play your Quake missile list where like you have like gets hot Quake missiles?
I was going to run it, but I ended up actually because they had it where we were at 3 stratagem points. So I ended up actually just taking warp displacement and a concealment barrage because I didn't want to go all in with these Quake missiles just for one round. That Ruin of Civilization strat is expensive.
It's so fun though.
It's hilarious because everything just gets quaked out and you're like, oh, awesome, and everything just runs in, right? But I wanted some mileage out of the strats, and the concealment barrage like saved my ass every time, which was nice. So it was nice.
It is the best auto take.
It is. It is. Focusing more on Heresy, getting to some of the good stuff now. Let's talk those PDFs that dropped. They released pretty much the Horus Heresy equivalent of like the PDF Legends. This is basically all the units that were in the game previously, but didn't make it into these core books. Mm-hmm. And there's a little blurb where they might tweak points. Some of them might come back later. It very much reads like a stopgap for some units. They might come in, I'm assuming, what's going to be campaign books or future books coming out. But overall, and I'm trying to be as, what's the word I'm looking for?
Optimistic.
Optimistic, sure. That's a good word for it. Majority of the units in that PDF, I would say, got shafted pretty hard. And it definitely has caused a lot of knee-jerk reactions kind of thing in the community.
Yeah.
And I guess let's talk about some of these changes. And I'm interested to hear what you guys know or what you guys are thinking about it. And also listening, like, comment what you think about it too. Because you might agree with us, you might think we're out to lunch, but I want to hear if you're on the same page as we are. And this is also coming from like long-term Heresy gamers, so we're trying to give as good perspective as we can. But yeah, what do you guys think overall?
Go ahead, Andy.
Alex is just waiting. He's like, oh.
Yeah, I know. He always wants the last word.
Yeah.
It's not true. I'm just interested in your opinion.
A lot of it kind of just glancing through, like I didn't look at every single unit, but you know, a lot of it a little lackluster, I'd say. Some of the units, and I've noticed that a lot of these units are, you know, either they don't have models for them or they are pretty much, you know, the Forge World miniatures, right? So, but then on the other hand, they do have certain units in there, like the Ultramarine Fulminators Terminators, that they seem pretty good, right? So it's kind of a mixed bag, you know. Unfortunately, there are some units that, like Bill said, you know, got toned down a fair bit without using any, you know, real vulgar words, but they've lost like a lot of abilities that they used to have, right? And we know some of the flyers are there that have just been really, really toned down. Yeah. One is the big ram, the
Cestus or Castus.
Yeah, the Castus Salt Ram. Like it's really just okay. It has a big transport capacity, but it lost its little abilities that it had before. So
it doesn't even have that. It's transport 12.
it's transport 12 that bulky will affect it. It's basically a 300-point Rhino.
Yeah.
Hey, it flies. Come on.
Flying Rhino.
That's an assault vehicle. I can deep strike. It has a flare shield.
I don't know, man. Okay, I guess comparatively though, we're talking like its first edition version compared to now. it basically can only take half the guys.
And again, like I think we've picked on this poor flyer now for like 2 weeks or a week and a half since this thing's been released.
Yeah.
It is probably the most egregious one, other than the basilisks or some of the artillery that took a real hard hit, almost unnecessarily. I think reasonably the case just needed some rules clarification and a change to how it interacted, to crush its transport capacity in half, and have it be 350 points is almost like it's like, please don't buy this unit from us. Like, obviously it's discontinued, but like there's clearly a desire for this not to be in the game, whoever wrote these rules.
No, it's true.
Yeah,
true.
Like
it sucks because like there are players that have these models and they are some of their favorite models, right? Like miniatures. So, as a player, it's hard to really take it in and be like, oh, I'm going to put this in my army still. But now it's, you can use your points better somewhere else, right?
Like,
at least in my opinion, right? But
yeah, I agree with that. I think a lot of the discussion here the last week has been like, either you're on the side of the fence where your specific faction or like, I won't talk about the faction specific units, but just the general units that came out took a decent hit. Like, they're no longer nearly as effective as they were in first edition.
no, that's true.
And then on top of that, there was some pretty substantial price increases on units in this attachment here that like, I don't know why, like, most people weren't playing these units anyways, but like to get like a 25 or 30% point increase seems, again, like you're on that side of the fence where you're convinced that GW is trying to change the rules in a way that'll stop you from buying these units or pirating them or however you're getting them at this point, just because they don't want you using these units anymore. They want you using core book units.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, some of this stuff, I think, to be honest, for me, which was nice because I'm a dirty Mechanicum player, there's a lot of stuff in this that historically Marine players used to beat up other Marine players with, and a lot of it got nerfed. Like, I think the general consensus in the way the rules have gone here in second edition so far is they do want Marines to be more survivable in this edition, and so like having 25 units in the Legends Codex with AP3 will just turn it back into first edition, where everyone will be running like 7 or 8 armored vehicles, and they'll take their minimum tactical squads because they just don't do anything because there's so many AP3 weapons on the table. Now I think, at least with all this artillery being AP4 with shred or breach, it at least gives you a chance, which I don't know, I personally think was a good change overall, even though they did take a big nerf.
Yeah, it changes the whole dynamic of the game, which is good. I'm okay with things changing, especially as like an Iron Warrior player and wanting to run, big guns, artillery, stuff like that. The common like points increase for a lot of these tanks is they're all like 200 points now, and it's like, okay, like Whirlwind's looking okay. I do have like a Medusa and a Basilisk conversion I did with Chimeras, and then I put actual Space Marine bits all over them to try and make them, look the part at least, and they're magnetized, and I base sprayed them, but they never could quite fit in my Hammer of Olympia list, right? I wanted to take other stuff, and I was really looking forward to taking them now, but it's like, well, okay, you know what? Maybe I'll look at some other like units. Myself, I'm very much looking at core stuff to try and make my armies out of. It's nice in the fact that we at least got this PDF, so we can still use our models if we want to. Obviously, majority of them aren't as good, but I'm thankful that at least we got that. Especially coming from a bit of 40k background and the way things have changed so drastically between some of the editions. I find myself kind of reading a lot of these forums, and people, rightly, I get people are upset about stuff, but I'm kind of like, shit, You know, this isn't the first time I've seen it, and all right, you know, it's just okay. Just moving on, right? Like it's just the way it is. But I get some people are upset, and you know, a lot of their units or the way they built armies, like it no longer functions that way. But I think that was the intent, was to flip everything on its head. These legions do seem to really play to their fluff now, as far as like the infantry being more survivable. Absolutely, I think they're way harder to kill. Vehicles have been toned down to the point where they're not blowing squads off the table. It feels very combat orientated when you're trying to maneuver these actual squadrons of like men, right? You're just piling all these troops in, you're piling some elites in, and it just turns into this big massive brawl. And some of these units are hard to kill, especially, you know, a tactical squad next to an objective. Fuck, man, that slap fight's gonna last forever. It's just crazy. But it's good. I like the change. I really think they've done a good job on it overall. Like, now that I've played a few games, it feels very different, but the same in a sense, I guess. The same setting, right? But different gameplay. And I do find it refreshing, because it's getting me to look at armies that I used to play, and it's like, hey, this is what I used to have, and it's like, like I'm trading a lot of vehicles out for bodies, throwing a lot of boots on the table, and I kind of like having, you know, swaths of infantry rolling up the table. So it's nice that way.
Yeah, like we kind of talked about it this weekend a little bit. You know, I built an EC army like 7 years ago, and it was this Maraskara list, and I was going to run it this way. There's like bikes and, you know, land speeders, and it's going to do this, and it's going to outflank, and it's going to do all this, you know. And I can't look at this rule set and build that army. And don't get me wrong, I now have like a considerable chunk of money and change sitting on my table here, which is actually was one of the only sections I painted. I don't intend to use in the new force, just because I don't like. I think there's other units here that are better. They're more thematic. They fit better. Like, I get to use Cacophony now. I get to use Palatine Blades. There's enough flavor in the core units with tacticals and despoilers that, like, they're good. They're fluffy. They're fun to use. Like, they fit all they tick all the boxes without having to say, like, okay, I need my mandatory 3 javelins in this list because, like, I need an anti-tank for an outflank. Like, I can do that now with other options in this book for the first time, which is super exciting. Like, you know, even to say, like, we're talking about the PDFs here, like, I'm actually, I think I'm maybe in the minority, but the Sunkiller Squad for Emperor's Children came out, which came out in a PDF of just a few weeks ago, actually, in White Dwarf, just before the main release dropped. Is actually pretty good. Like, it's points intensive, don't get me wrong, but it's a good heavy support choice, and it's infantry, which is, like, for the first time, like, I'm looking at basically a Devastator Squad and saying, yeah, I'd take that for the first time ever.
Yeah.
No doubt.
I
wonder if we, like how you said, it does say that they might move over some of these units into the core units, right? I wonder if they'll do that with some of them, like some of the tanks and stuff, just looking like, you know, like the Legion Macharius heavy tank.
Yeah.
But like down the road, maybe for, you know, maybe they can include that into like the militia armies or something like that, right?
Yeah,
you know,
nice
I wonder if they do that kind of stuff. But
it would be nice to see. I'd be happy if they just kind of redress the points on the super heavies. I feel they were just a little too heavy-handed on some of them.
750.
Some of them are just pricey.
Well, that's like most of them are 700.
Yeah.
Well, all the Bane blades are like 750 almost.
Yeah.
Bane hammer 750.
7
Legion
to
Bane blade
900.
750.
Yeah.
Seems as like kind of that range. You're like, ooh, that's pricey.
That's a Warhound. Like,
Yeah.
Pretty
Well,
much.
that's what a Warhound was. So now I'm wondering, oh shit, is like a Warhound going to be like 1250 or something crazy, right? Like, you don't know.
so the leaked Mechanicus book has the prices, and it's 750.
Tell me. Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Is it?
Well, then I'm
Yeah.
happy to
Wow.
I'm happy to hear that then.
Wow.
The Shadow Sword is $850.
Yeah, not all super heavies are made equal, apparently. So, which is okay, kind of cool.
So I don't know, Andy. I think you had a good point there. There might be a down the road here where they redress all these super heavy costs in a Solar Auxilia
Exactly.
specific book, and maybe drop the prices specifically if you're in a Solar Auxilia army.
Yeah, that's like that was my thinking too, right? It's just okay. You might see some of this stuff go over, like it's fitting for those armies to have those kind of tanks in there in their own book.
That being said, can we just talk about the absolute fanboying that Forge World and GW are doing for Dark Angels? Like, what the fuck?
Well, okay, I was gonna bring it up. I wanted to know what happened, like what warp fueled BS went down. Like a bunch of Dark Angel stuff just immediately appeared on this PDF that I've never seen before. And then they also like gave a lot of love with these Terminator variants. So they have Tartaros, like Deathwing Terminators, but then they also have Cataphracti Deathwing Terminators. And no other Legion-specific squads like that are multi-armor mark. They're like a set build. Like Sekhmet is Cataphracti.
Yeah.
That's what it is, right? And it's like, okay. And then it's like, oh, Tyrant Siege Terminators, they're Cataphracti. And you start going through, and like most of them are Cataphracti, but then you start kind of looking at all these, some of these squads that people have made, and it's like, oh, this isn't Tartaros. Well, yeah, that doesn't actually exist, so now what are you going to do with that actual squad now? But it's just Dark Angels got like some crazy love, and like I might be biased, right? Used to be a Space Wolves guy, pretty hard, and
Still a Space Wolf guy.
Still a Space Wolf guy, but yeah, I don't know what happened over there, right? I know a lot of people are like, oh, they're the first, man. They had like everything, and I'm like, enough of that.
So they never made any of these models, like the Tartaros Terminator companions, for sure. They didn't make
the Enigmatus Cavell isn't a thing yet either.
No.
But the Cataphracti, did they make them?
No, they made the.
I thought they made those fancy looking Terminator guys.
They've got an entry though.
Okay.
They have their own specific one, and their swords are pretty beefy.
Okay.
Pretty beefy. Those tyrannic, I think, great swords they're called. But it's just some weird warp trickery went down.
I want to make a Deathwing army to just make a better Mechanicus army, because that Exindio Battle Automata is sexy.
Oh, that thing's crazy. So crazy.
350. Holy smokes.
That's before upgrades, man. That thing's like solid, like 400 points, and it will wreck things.
Yeah.
A 4-up, feel no pain on that bastard. 2 up, 5 up, 4 up, feel no pain. It's got brutal 2 or 3 on its melee attacks. Brutal 2.
Venerable Rage.
See, it's got, what do we figure? It's 9. It's got 9 attacks on the charge with just melee weapons, all at like strength 7 or 9, AP 2, and like 6 of them do brutal 2.
Are we sure this is a Dark Angels unit, or is it a World Eater unit? Like,
that's definitely
from what you're describing.
It's wild. It's so wild.
Crazy. Now there's a lot, eh? Yeah.
The PDF.
And then you look at my Falcon's Claws, and it's like, no.
That was a shit unit to begin with, though. for 95 points.
But,
see, I don't know. I kind of have this little conspiracy theory that some of the squads that got good are going to be released later on in an actual kit. And like I can see them releasing the Ultramarine Filamentaris Terminators. To me, that just seems like a given. Obviously, I can see a lot of Dark Angel stuff coming out as well. There's certain units in the book that are better than others. Even like the straight up Indominus Terminator armor entry, that's legit. Like that entry alone is pretty cool, considering they can have storm shields. They're only 4 up, but they're one of the only Terminator units that can do that.
Yeah.
And
it's like we want cataphracty survivability with Tartaro sweeping advance and running.
yeah, well they can't run. Because they're heavy.
Well, that's why they're heavy, aren't they?
Yeah, they're heavy, but they can sweep and Overwatch and everything else, which is like, oh man, it's a really nice balance of the rules. So that I'm looking forward to, but I could also see that coming out in a new kit, especially with the rumors that we're dropping, today with how there's going to be like Primaris Terminators coming out 2023. So if that actual range is coming in, they might be either reboxing, which I hope not, but they might be redoing Terminators for Heresy maybe, which would be kind of cool.
Probably, considering they put scouts out there, right?
Yeah.
So
I can't wait to put Primaris Terminators in Heresy.
So much rage. There's going to be so much rage over those pictures. Guys will be like, hey man, I want to know if it's cool if I use this, knowing for sure they're going to, just stir the hornet's nest and get
somewhere someone has been named my arch nemesis. I just haven't met them yet.
That's right, yeah. He's lurking online as we speak, waiting to see that comment though.
Can I use the Primaris Terminators at 30k?
Primaris apparently is a super dirty word in 30k. Although I won't lie, it's the range of bits that you can pull from a lot of those kits are very useful. And I'll just leave it at that. Mix and mash everything, especially a lot of the hands and like, the communicator shit on the intercessors. There's a lot of cool stuff and upgrade kits that you can use, so I wouldn't rule them all out. There's just, the range is vast. So.
You know what, man? Your hobby is your hobby. If it looks cool, fucking go for it.
Yeah. That's exactly.
And anyone that tells you different doesn't represent the hobby, and they're a piece of shit.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've heard that. We've had some chats with people where it's like, question has been asked, and they literally get slammed for it, and it's like, why? Why are you doing that to a new player? Like,
I say
seriously.
that, but man, if you show up with one-on-one like direct Primaris for Mark 3 to 6, I will make fun of you.
Like it's not as easy just to throw them in an army, right? For sure, but I don't know. There's that.
I'll play you,
yeah,
and we'll have fun, but I'll still make fun of you for it.
See, and that'd be okay. I always think about like, when did Rule of Cool stop being cool? Especially if it looks fucking cool, right? Like,
that sounds really old coming from you right now. Are we that old?
I know, right? Like, it does sound old, but that's been the thing forever, man.
It's like something my dad would say.
We are that old, Alex. I mean, I do play bolt actions, so usually they say once you hit that 40 mark, you jump into bolt action session.
It's either, what was it? Dan posted that. Once you hit 40, you either smoke meat or you play historical World War II tabletop games. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just,
yeah.
Put it out there. I'm not 40 yet, but I got started on bolt action early, I guess. So.
But, Heresy.
Back to Heresy, yeah.
So, I had to double check this because it actually kind of started to upset me. But Indominus and Cataphracti are the exact same points.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
so why would you take Cataphracti?
So you can still take Thunderhammers on Cataphracti, but you have to pay for Indominus to get the shield to give them the 4-up. So they're actually 50 points more a squad to get the same survivability Cataphracti. So for 50 points more, you gain sweeping advance for the same resilience, basically. That's actually not a bad trade-off.
No. Works good, I think.
At least it gives you that option. You're like, hey, I need, I'm gonna run some Marines over, so I want to be able to sweep, so I'm gonna take, and Dominus Terminators now. At least it's nice to have that option.
Yeah, we can almost all feel like Imperial Fists, almost.
I think almost
give them
everybody
hammers.
is.
Because yeah, Tartaros with shields is just the pinnacle of
It's funny because
Terminator
I
units.
heard of another 2 players jumping into Imperial Fists. And it's just like, holy smokes.
Just
It's a lot. But Bill might have to play his Iron Warriors just to balance the teams.
Yeah, no doubt. Word bearers first. I got sacrifices to make. So, but kicking into one of the last parts, I've seen a ton of questions on this online. So I want to go through it and try and hive mind it. This is a little bit of 30K theoretical for us. Basically, tactical squads versus despoiler squads, and what loadout, just for squads in general, what loadout do you think you're going to get more mileage out of for your sergeants and your squad loadouts? Like, we can talk about the tactical squad in depth first. Like, I just kind of want to break it down on that because I've seen a ton of different people asking about it, and tactical squads are no joke. And like, I'm gonna follow along my book because I want to make sure I'm not missing out on anything. But when I start looking at tactical squads, it really depends for me on what I'm wanting, like, the squad to actually do. And I personally don't think that the 20-man big blobs are worth it over 10, but we'll get to that. My go-to loadout so far has been like the classic Artificer armor, Melt-A-Bomb, but I've been going with Lightning Claw on like my sergeants, and I really like it because, one, it's rending, and it's got shred, which makes it very, to me, seems very powerful. Weapon skill 4, not huge. Strength 4, it's not huge, but it's that shred with the rending, so you're fishing for 6s, and it's AP3 all the time, that I think really gives that particular loadout a lot of mileage on the table. And myself, I'm a really big fan of chain bayonets on the squads themselves. Again, just strength 5 shred it's insane. These squads were able to churn out a ton of attacks and really do quite well against one another. Having Heart of the Legion, which is the feel no pain, and then if you're within, I think it's 6 of an objective, then it bumps up to a 5+. If you're going to take an Apothecary, it bumps up to a 4+. It's very good. Like, you can't go wrong, I don't think. Vexilla should be auto takes as far as I'm concerned, and Vexilla should always be in your squad no matter what. That +1 to combat res is absolutely just bonkers, and it can do a lot of good. As far as that goes, Nuncio Vox for me is a little hit and miss. It depends, I guess, if you're going to be utilizing it.
So just to interject there, but that Vexilla actually has a second part to it, so which is pretty neat. So like, before you roll the dice to determine your fallback distance, you can choose, I believe, to roll a d6 instead of 2d6, right?
Correct.
And then also it has, if you're forced to move off the board, you'll actually stop an inch with whatever models that are going off the board. They'll actually stop an inch of the board edge.
Yeah, it stops you from fleeing off the table.
Yeah. So it like Bill said, it is definitely an auto take for 10 points.
Yeah. If you can't fit it in, lose Arty Armor and take the Vexilla. That's my hot take on tactical squads. I can't recommend doing that stuff enough. I think it's pretty good. Nuncio Vox, I think, can be handy if you go up against a lot of deep strike stuff, a lot of corrupted stuff, things with the fear keyword, or you're dealing with a lot of night fighting, just because it can kind of help step around the -1 penalty to leadership. So that's not bad at all. But I'm interested to hear, like, Andy, Alex, your thoughts on like the tactical squad loadout for sergeants, and even just for the actual squads themselves. Like, you guys feeling?
Would you like me to go first, Alex?
Yeah, sure. Like, to an extent, I don't actually disagree with a whole lot with what you said. The only thing I don't like is Lightning Claw, and ironically, Bill goosed me with a Lightning Claw and killed my sergeant before I got to hit back.
Yeah.
This just the other day, but I still think the Power Fist Artie is a mainstay for me, and kind of always will be. I think there's a little bit like I'm looking at, either I'm going to chainsword it, or I'm going to Power Fist. I'm not going to do a whole lot in between for my sergeants, and the only reason I do that is because then I have up hitting options. So if I do run into a dreadnought or a vehicle or something, I have a reliable 2 to 3 attacks, on the charge that I'm going to be able to hit into like an AV 12 or 13 item, or 11 to 12 item, and be able to do some damage, or actually hit back against some Terminators. I know I'm gonna, if Cataphracti charge my tacticals, I know I'm basically gonna get gas. So what I'll do is, at least I'll kill one with a Power Fist, or hopefully 2 if they don't make a save, type of thing. That's it. Like, it's just running the odds on slightly better combat overages over multiple games. I don't think I would invest in plasma guns, full flight sprints, hand flamers. I'm still up in the air on melta bombs. I think melta bombs are really good this edition, like really good. I just don't think they're as good against dreadnoughts as people think they're going to be. Yeah. With one hit on a weapon skill 5 with a weapon skill 4 model, you're got one chance, 1/5 up to basically do D3 damage to a contemptor, and then he still has a 5 up save. So like your odds are just like, and then you got a D3, like there's still a 1 in 3 chance you're going to only do one wound. So like, I'd rather have the fist, and then I get 3 attacks to get at least 1/5, or 2 attacks to get 1/5 off if I don't charge. Doubles my odds of doing 1 damage is in my world.
Yeah, no, that's fair for sure. What about sorry, Andy, go ahead, because I want to hear what you got to say about it too.
Well, weapon wise, so let's not go weapon wise yet. Between the 2 squads, I'm looking at their actual abilities with the Fury of the Legion and the Spite of the Legion.
Yeah.
Now, Fury of the Legion, bolters, you get to fire the extra shot, right? If you haven't moved or ran or whatever in movement phase. Every time. But when you look at Spite of the Legion, there's a lot of limitations to it, right? And there's a few. And I don't quite like it. Like, I'd probably rather take an assault squad instead of despoilers. Right now, granted, when you're looking at like a loadout for Marines, those 2 types of Marines, regular Marines, again with the chain blades. Me and Bill have talked about this too before, like, because I've taken a unit with Chainswords, and they didn't do too bad, right? A lot more attacks, and whatnot, but that extra strength really does help, right? As for the spoiler squad, for another 2 points, you can take heavy chainswords on all of them, which, that changes things a little bit, but you don't have a longer range shooting weapon compared to like just regular tactical squads, and you'll get 1 more strength on the chain, the heavy chainsword compared to the chain blades. So depending on maybe the Legion you're playing, right, is where these are going to shine. Tactical squads for me they're always going to be a take in any army that I play. Just having guns just blasting away. They do really good with the Imperial Fists, right? They get that bonus kind of thing. but just being able to fire the extra shots helps. As for the sergeants, it's a mix-up, you know. Yeah, I agree with Alex with the Power Fist, and I agree with Bill with the Lightning Claw. It's just a matter of where or what you're sending your Marines at.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I played Hal the other day, and I charged his Dreadnought with chain blades, and I think my guy had... Actually, I just had chain blades, just to see how it does, right? And it did not do well.
No.
And then
it would.
I was hoping there was a better end to that story.
No, it did not do well, just because of the weapon skill, right? So it's interesting, right? Maybe the assaults, or maybe the spoilers would have done better. Hard to say, right? It's all that weapon skill. Marines are definitely... we kind of know this. You know, I don't think Marines are really going to be meant to go up against Dreadnoughts, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to have Dreadnoughts versus Dreadnoughts kind of thing. Or just blast them out of the battlefield. But overall, out of those two units, my choice is going to be the TAC squad over the Despoilers for myself. And as for the other equipment and stuff too, like Nuncio Vox, you talked about the -1 leadership kind of thing. You know, ignores the night fighting, which is cool.
Yeah, but what's your sergeant loadout? What's your loadout that you're gonna take?
I went with the Lightning Claw.
Lightning Claw,
right? Lightning Claw and Arty armor.
Yeah.
So that's what I went with, right?
Yeah.
Again, no special pistol or anything.
No,
So
the pistols I don't see.
It's not worth it to me. It's really not worth it to me. Yeah.
Like I know in the Legion Tactical Squad you can take Chainswords for 5 points a model. So over the squad of 10, it's gonna be 50 points extra, which gives them a lot of versatility. The reason I really like these Despoiler squads, and like Alex and I were kind of talking about it when we played our game, is I like having access to power weapons to cleave through these Marine units. The nice thing about the Despoiler squad is that Sergeant can be loaded out exactly the same. He can rock his sweet Lightning Claw. He's doing everything he gets to do before. The nice part is for every 5 models in the unit, you can take a power weapon. So you can rock your 2 power swords and a Lightning Claw, and you're going to be cranking through Marines. You'll probably be killing at least 6 a turn with AP3, which is nice. It seems to, I don't know, for me it seems to help quite a bit in blowing through squads. Like slap fight, tack on tack in our game, Alex, like especially when we're all huddled around an objective, they didn't want to shift very easily. It was a couple rounds of combat before, my squad eventually broke and was swept, but it just seems, I don't know, like I'd rather have the oomph to push through and just smash through a squad with extra power weapons in the unit and kind of crank out that way.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Like after you kind of, I saw Despoiler, I was like, well, that's not a tactical squad. And then I went and read the actual rules here, and really a Despoiler squad is just a tactical squad without the bolters, but with like literally they both have the option to do both what the other unit does. You can take a Despoiler squad kind of, or you can take a bolter or a tactical squad with Chainswords and kind of make them a Despoiler squad. The Despoiler squad just does it cheaper, is more efficient as a melee unit. But it really kind of comes down to what do you want your tacticals to do. For the most part, with how awesome Heart of the Legion is around an objective, like I intend for like bigger games, I'm going to put 10 tacticals in a Rhino and I'm going to sit them on objective. Yeah. That's it. They're going to sit there all game. They're going to blow up the Rhino, they're going to get out, and then they're going to sit on objective with a 5-up. And maybe I'll throw an apothecary in there too, so they're getting a 4-up. And I will just sit there until turn 5. Yeah. And you're going to have to push me off to score. And then I've got maybe though maybe I want to go get objectives. So I'll take 2 tacticals and 1 despoiler squad, and I'll hop in a rhino and I'll go up the board with an apothecary, and I'll go grab it and sit on an objective in center or your deployment zone, and then I've got a 4 up there with an apothecary and some melee punch. So you're gonna have to come and get me off or get me out of my rhino eventually, and when you charge me, I'm gonna hit you back pretty hard. Which is like that's nice. That's like a tactical option to take, which is super sexy.
Yeah, it's just having Spite of the Legion and Heart of the Legion makes that squad very attractive for me. My also thought is I don't think 20-man squads are worth it, only in the sense as for what you pay for the extra 10. You may as well buy another squad of 10 because you get a sergeant for free. And to me, like, I'd rather have 5 squads of 10 versus 2 squads of 20 and 1 of 10. Just because you have a lot more mobility on the board. But that's just me looking at, how the squad break down for points. They're 100 points apiece. An additional 10 is 10 points apiece. So I get 2 sergeants and 2 10-man squads versus 20. Which is kind of nice. You're doubling up on the ability to take your power weapons if you want to, really. So
yeah, and I think for how cheap power weapons are for 5 points, like even
well, that's just hitting the spoilers. They're 5 points for the additional dudes, right? Which is
so you get awesome. What you would have 4 power weapons?
No, you can only take 2.
2 in a 10-man. If you did a 20-man, you could do 4 plus the Sarge.
That's what I'm saying. Is in a 20-man, you would have and a lot of shitload of attacks.
Shitload of attacks.
Yeah, like that, like 2 power weapons, like power, like I don't know what's the choice there. Power axe.
Yeah, there's actually a couple. You can pull it up because there's
we can take power axe, power sword, power mace, or lance, right? Those are the 4 options.
The power spear, or whatever the hell it is. Sword, axe, maul, and lance. Yeah. So all are really good. They're all AP 3, except for obviously the power axe. It's unwieldy though, and then everything is basically +1 or +2 strength, except for the sword. On that in particular, but power sword has rending 6+, which is very nice. Power lance is also pretty nice with +1 strength AP3 because of that reach. I like that too. I
dare you to model a lance on a unit.
See, they would look better on and perform better on your units though.
They would, but I would take the axes because I get the bullshit +1 initiative hit.
Yeah.
So axes on a niche 3 or niche 2.
Niche 2. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. Which I thought was I straight up thought that was BS until I actually reread the Emperor's Children entry, and I'm just like, oh god. No, so the way it's worded for the Emperor's Children rules is you get +1 initiative after all the special rules and modifiers have happened.
Correct. And it doesn't even talk about initiative. It's just you hit it 1 initiative better in the first round of combat.
Yeah.
That you charge. That's it.
Yeah. But after everything's
Unwieldy just says that you strike at initiative 1. Yeah. So yeah, pretty clear.
It's wild. But yeah, I like the idea of power swords and lightning claws in the squad just rolling. Even rolling up in a rhino. Just cruise, man. Like it's a good little unit. So I'm +1 for Despoiler, and Andy's +1 for Tactical.
And I'm both.
And then, well, you can't be both. You gotta pick one. God damn it.
Why?
Well, because I just want to see. Well, I want to hear what most people are leaning towards, if it's Tactical or Despoiler, if they had to pick one.
Okay, I think because they're both useful, but because of just how much better the straight across Tactical Marine has gotten in 2nd edition, I have to go with the Bolter Tactical Marine.
That's fair.
So now looking at that, like when you're saying a Despoiler build, are you looking at that more of because of what Legion you're playing as well? Like, does that make an impact on your choice on that?
For me, not not really. Like, to be honest, I'd kind of like to have a couple of these squads just roaming around, even in my Iron Warriors, where I know my Iron Warriors are better suited to have tactical squads like in them purely, just because of how the advanced reaction works and Olympia bolters and everything else. But like even for my word bearers or any legion, in all honesty, like could make probably some pretty solid use of just the way these the spoiler squads work. My only ask is Games Workshop, please come out with the spoiler kits.
MK2?
That would be great. Oh, that'd be so good.
They'll probably come out with assault squads.
Yeah.
And then you just swap.
Yeah,
backpacks,
just swap the thing.
Right. But like I know for myself, Thousand Suns they can switch out their or upgrade their bolter, I believe. Here. But they end up getting some special bolter that's a little bit better. Can't quite. It's here.
So
The Kraken?
No, no, it's something else here. Aether, I think it's an Aether, not fire pistol, maybe. There it is. Asphyx bolter. Range 18, strength 4, AP 5, rapid fire with shred. So I kind of was looking at it with that, right? And you start comboing stuff up, like you can get some minor arcana that gives you an additional 3 on your movement. So I mean, you move and you still have decent range, even with the 18. So,
yep.
But that's why I'm looking at it for that, right? And like I even thinking about it too, even with like the Ultramarines, bolters would be for my choice. But no, that's good. That's good to know kind of where everybody's sitting.
Yeah, it's a solid breakdown, right? Like there's so many options, so many ways to play.
Let's be honest, I've built 30 tactical Ultramarines. We're going to play 30 tactical Ultramarines at this point.
Oh shit! See, I know I'm gonna head down that road eventually. Here, I was just talking with Dan today about I gotta buy either a bunch of like assault marine kits, try and trade for chainswords and stuff, just to get enough to actually make the spoiler squads. We'll see how it goes. I do want to rob some of the bolter arms off my MK6 and attach them to my MK45 word bearers, just because I want to take special weapon squads, and I don't really want to piss around with the cutting and tweaking of the models, because they will fit, but it just I don't want to really deal with that crap. So
I'm less worried about the chainsword arms. I'm more worried about the bolt pistols at this point.
Why? Like what they're gonna look like?
Just harder to find.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, you can find a shit ton of the the standard 40k ones, even the Chaos Space Marine pistols. They're not that different from what the plastic kits have, like the MK3-4. They're not wildly out to lunch.
There you go. Battle Bling's got a set of 5 arms for $19.
yeah, I don't like. Don't get me wrong. Battle Bling, the kit looks awesome. 5 arms, 5 pistols, but it's $19. I'm like, ooh, that's spicy.
You buy me some resin, we can make this work.
Oh, that's good. I like that too.
3D printing.
Yeah. I got bottles, man. I got bottles. You just tell me what kind you want, and I'll get it.
Okay.
So yeah, overall, that's kind of the theoretical portion of it. Anyways, it's just let us know. I'm really curious to hear what other guys think about the squads. If they think 20 man are worth it, if they think the 10s are the way to go. This is just with tactical Marines too, right? There's so many ways to kind of play out, and I still want to have more of these talks as we continue to crank through games and play more and start learning the game actually, like inside out. So yeah.
So like Bill said, hear your comments. Post on the page, on the links, all that stuff. Let us know. And there'll be some good info sessions for maybe somebody sees something we don't, right? So
Absolutely. Well, yeah. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll definitely catch you next week.
Hey, guys.
Thank you very much.
Trident Wargaming. Build it, paint it, play it.